The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things came to be. Not one thing had its being but through him. All that came to be had life in him, and that life has the light of man. A light that shines in the dark, a light that darkness could not overpower. A man came, sent by God. His name was John. He came as a witness to speak for the light, so that everyone might believe through him. He was not the light, only a witness to speak for the light. The Word was the true light that enlightens all men, and he was coming into the world. He was in the Word that had its being through him, and the Word did not know him. He came to his own domain, and his own people did not accept him. But to all who did accept him, he gave power to become children of God. To all who believe in the name of him who was born not out of human stock, or urge of the flesh, or will of man, but of God himself. The Word was made flesh. He lived among us, and we saw his glory, the glory that is his, as the only Son of the Father, full of grace and truth. John appears as his witness. He proclaims, "This is the one of whom I said, he who comes after me ranks before me, because he existed before me." Indeed, from his fullness we have all of us received, yes, grace in return for grace. Since though the law was given through Moses, grace and truth have come through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. It is the only Son who is the nearest to the Father's heart, who has made him known. The Gospel of the Lord. May I kindly ask parents with children that we have a crying room that they can use, so that we don't disturb other people. Thank you. Today we are not celebrating only the birth of Christ. Almost I was tempted to say, as I read the Gospel, I don't need to add one more word. So beautifully written and inspired. To John, the Gospel writer. There is everything in there that we need to reflect upon today. Because today, as I said, we are not only celebrating the birth of Christ, we are also celebrating the birth of humanity. Humanity was really and truly born with the birth of Christ. He brought light to the darkness. He brought justice and peace to a world in turmoil. You might say, what are you talking about? There are so many wars going on. There are so many injustices in the world. You spoke, you said, 30,000 children dying of hunger. Yes, this is the reality of life. But because Christ was not yet and is not yet accepted by all. And this is the problem. Since his birth, this little baby was a moment of conflict, so to say. There were people, there were shepherds, poor people, simple people, other people who accepted him, adored him, loved him, made him part of their life, lived him, as we know of so many people, holy people and saints who lived him all the year. But there were others who fought in his name and are still fighting in his name. People who were angered against him, people who hated him, as people who crucified him in his time. When the gospel writers spoke about Bethlehem, spoke about the shepherds and the angels who appeared in the sky, they were not writing them during the time that these things happened. No. These were written many years after Christ was crucified and risen from death. They wrote it afterward. Not only wrote it afterwards because a lot of time had elapsed, but during that time there were the Christian community that lived Christ in their lives. So when they wrote the gospel, the Bethlehem scene and the birth of Christ with the vision of the people who lived Christ, and after knowing how Christ have lived from this earth, how Christ carried the cross on Calvary, and how Christ was crucified on Calvary and risen from the dead. That's what brought then the crib. That's what brought the peace on earth. That's what brought justice on earth and truth. Because Christ, who was born and lived among us, lived in justice, lived in respect of everybody, lived in love of everybody, lived in forgiving everybody. So this was Christ. This was the message. And this was the crib. So the crib that today we celebrate, and we see it full of angels and singing and gifts and parties that we celebrate, it is the message of happiness that Christ has given us today. Please. Christ has given us happiness, the joy of children. They are not they do not know that they are disturbing other people, because they are innocent as they went to receive Christ in the baby Jesus. And as they today, in their innocence, celebrate the gifts, the parties, and the things that we give them for Christmas. But remember that the crib is not all the true if it is not accompanied by the cross. The cross is part of the crib, because Jesus, the baby Jesus, is the Jesus that we know on the cross, and the Jesus we know who was resurrected. So we too. That's why even when we are down, even when we are depressed, even when we have problems, as we often do in our lives, we don't need to be discouraged or lose heart or lose hope. Because the joy of Christ in us is still there. Whatever happens to us, the joy of Christ in us remains there. Even in our depression, even in our difficult relationships, even our sickness, even in our solitude, even our dark moments of life, the joy of Christ remains unique and there and permanent in our life, if we want to see it, if we want to live it, because Christ and His joy and His happiness will never leave us. It is always there permanently in our lives, if we want to keep it, if we want to live it. This is the message that we received today for Christmas Day. It's a message of happiness. It's a message of joy. And the joy and happiness that we receive today, as Christ has told us, I give you joy and I give you happiness and life, not like the world gives you. I will give you life and I will give you joy and happiness that you will never fail, that no one will take away from you. This is what Christ has promised to us all. And so we don't need to be afraid of whatever happens in our lives, because Christ is in us. Christ is born for us, and this remains with us if we want, I repeat, if we want to keep him in our lives. Let's recite together this prayer. From glorious splendor above, the ineffable mystery, incomprehensible, inexhaustible, limitless. God came down to us in a manger, needing love and milk like everybody else on earth, because he wanted to be near us and with us. Come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him.